The Valencia property market has gone mad. So we thought we'd do like audio versions of some of the blog posts so that you can hear what we're actually thinking about this, and maybe we add some stuff in during it. So as regards the Valencia property market has gone mad, let's get the caveats out of the way first. People are sure to call us liars, typical agents talking up the market and stuff, but as the great Rafa Benitez once said, here are some facts. Today, we tried to arrange some visits for a client on Friday. Out of the 10 properties we wanted to see, 5 had sold in the past week. That's a massive hit rate. All have deposits left on them, and mostly at asking price. Last week, we took a client to see some properties in Pobla de Fanals. Not my favourite place, but anyway, they wanted to be by the sea. They wanted a second visit, and over half the properties had sold in 3 days since our first visit, all with deposits left. One of our clients was gazumped this week by a full price, no mortgage offer needed from another agent's client. In 20 years of doing this work, we have previously only ever seen 3 gazumpings. 2 have been in the past year. We, as an agency, have 9 sales in the pipeline in the process of completion at the moment, including our highest Valencia City price ever. We're in the process of making a couple of totally remote sales. The people have never even visited Valencia. A bank put a property near to the Torres Quart in Valencia on Idealista on Tuesday. They had 10 full price offers on the property within 24 hours, and the property was taken down. How do we know? Well, we called them at midday on Wednesday to ask for a virtual viewing for one of our clients who was willing to make a full price offer if the property was okay, and they told us not to bother. This is all happening without people being able to travel and visit properties. This is local demand. Local demand of locals, Valencians, and also foreigners who are already here on site. What does this mean and why? Well, firstly, you can surmise that the market is hot right now. And when you come here, when borders open and you expect big discounts due to the pandemic, which a few people have been saying to us, it isn't going to happen. There are plenty of buyers and the sellers are willing to wait it out. Don't tell us that factors influencing price rises elsewhere are the complete opposite here, as mentioned in the last post we made on the site. And you need to be able to move quickly. The best stuff sells fast. If you like it, probably somebody else likes it too. Once foreign buyers are easily able to get here, the market is going to go even more completely mental. People have realised that they only live once and they want a place in the sun now. Get in touch with us, of course. Information at valenciaproperty.com, but make sure to read the essentials on our essentials page on our website. Meanwhile, let's look at what the reasons we think are behind this situation. COVID-19, of course. We spoke late last year on these pages about the continuing resilience of the market due to the desire for larger spaces, outside space, etc. We wrote an article about it, search it out on the blog. What we perhaps didn't realise even then was the permanent mindset change that the pandemic seems to have made to people in Spain. I say permanent change, but it's been a year now since lockdown started. I think it's exactly a year today as I speak. And we find that the mindset change might be diluted with time if things get back to what we previously considered normality during this year. Things might go back to, in inverted commas, normal. However, COVID-19 has changed the way that Spanish people look at their home. Previously, the home was just somewhere they slept and made breakfast. It's often been said that the Spanish live in the streets. They meet up with friends at cafes and bars, they're outdoor sports lovers, they go away to their villages for the weekend. The house was just a base for their lifestyle. It didn't matter to them if the apartment was relatively dark and interior or overshadowed. If it was in the right location for them, they knew they were hardly ever going to be home, and at night the blinds would be lowered and it would be completely dark anyway. Now people work from home more readily, and they've discovered in many cases that they like it, avoiding commutes, not being judged all day by overbearing supervisors, that happens a lot in Spain, and having more time to themselves as a result. What they don't like is that much of this was done in properties that didn't suit this type of lifestyle. Trying to work from home while children studied at home was a strain. More space was needed, and as a result they determined that a larger property with extra rooms and outside space when required to get some exercise or just fresh air was attractive. We've talked about the flight from interior city apartments to places with terraces or the towns surrounding Valencia in other posts, and this tendency continues even as restrictions on movement ease. The desire to buy. There's a big recession coming in the whole world because of the pandemic. Of that, there can be little doubt. This has meant that there is a desire to buy now before the banks make lending criteria stricter before inflation. Also, before inflation, eats into their savings and before the best deals are gone. It seems craven to say it, but the recession and the job losses did not affect the vast majority of people who were thinking of buying property before the pandemic. They are those people in safe, or safer at least, jobs. Guaranteed until they retire, think civil servants here, people whose work can be done from home and is not public facing, and who see the situation and current mortgage availability as an opportunity to get a bigger and better place to live. The majority of the younger generation in Spain struggled to get onto the housing market ladder prior to COVID-19 due to the precarious nature of their employment, the gig economy and wage rates. The Bank of Mum and Dad have seen an opportunity to help their children move out of the family home because 24 hours sat in each other's presence all day, every day meant that however much the mother of the family wanted the family close, it maybe became too close. The average age of leaving home was 32 to 34 before the pandemic, and this age may well get higher now due to the pandemic. Interest rates and inflation. The Bank of Mum and Dad have decided that when interest rates are around 1% on mortgages and the banks are willing to give a fixed rate mortgage for 20 years and even in some cases make the first 5 years of that interest only, it's much easier and cheaper to buy a property for their child with an 80% mortgage than to help them with the money to rent a property. Rental prices are also resilient, especially for better properties in more desirable areas. As long as bank mortgage availability continues to flow at cheap prices, then the Spanish Bank of Mum and Dad see property as a hedge against inflation in the property market, which is driven by inflation in the general market, which will inevitably happen because of all the money printing going on by the ECB, the Bank of England in the UK, and the Fed in the States. How do they get the 20% down payment and the cost of purchase? Oftentimes, they'll mortgage their current property by extending the amount they owe, usually also at 1 to 2% fixed rate to make the down payment. Inflation will rise considerably in the next few years, and assets that rise with inflation traditionally, like housing, are seen by the Spanish as a safer haven than leaving the money in the bank, where they get little to no interest, meaning that inflation eats away at their savings. Investing in bonds, where the yields are lower or negative against inflation, they also don't do, or going into new investment vehicles such as cryptocurrencies, which they don't understand and they view as too volatile. Buying a property for their children or want to rent out and get a return can be anything from 3 to 8% typically, and where you can guarantee rental payments through an insurance contract for very little money is a bit of a no-brainer as long as they can raise the money for the deposit. Like every other country, the Spanish have been restricted in what they can do on a day-to-day basis for a whole year now. They are straining at the leash to be given back the freedom that they took for granted prior to the pandemic hitting. Everything they put off and then suddenly were stopped from doing is in play now when things open up again. This you only live once, YOLO idea, has always been a factor in the low savings rates of the Spanish compared with other nationalities. In the last year though, those who have not been affected too much by the pandemic, those who have kept their job, have been saving as they had nothing to spend their money on. They were even offered mortgage holidays by their banks on properties they already have, which many people were forced to put into savings because there was nothing to spend it on. You couldn't go out, you couldn't go on holiday, you couldn't do anything. This has meant that suddenly a lot more people have been able to raise the cash for buying property. The Spanish collectively seem to have decided now is the time because tomorrow may never come. Remember, Spain was hit badly by the pandemic. The internet. The pandemic has dragged people, and more importantly companies and administrations, kicking and screaming into the 21st century. So much of what was taken for granted that required in-person visits, interminable meetings and a physical presence has been turned on its head, that Spain has accelerated a whole decade in a year. Online commerce has moved forward massively, and the Amazon delivery van is taking over the roads and the world, it seems. Cardboard recycling bins are constantly filled with large Amazon smiley face packaging, and Spanish businesses have suddenly developed e-commerce arms and made it easier to order online and have that order delivered quickly and efficiently. Also, the fact that most towns and villages now have cable internet with really rapid upload and download speeds means that houses that were previously not options for people needing to work from home are now perfectly acceptable. It's one of the first things we check for many of our international clients. What internet speed is available in their area for work? Value for money. Spain is still considered value for money compared with many other places. And within Spain, Valencia is considered very good value for money for a big city compared with the only two larger cities in Spain, Madrid and Barcelona. There's also less traffic, less pollution, better communications, fewer tourists, especially at the moment. A similar property in Valencia compared to Madrid or Barcelona might be between 30 and 60% cheaper per square metre. Of course, Valencia has its own more expensive and cheaper areas, but on average you get a lot more for your money in Valencia than in other well-known places in Spain. We looked at a property yesterday, for example, €420,000, and it's just absolutely amazing. We took a drone video. Everyone loved it. We compared it with a one-bedroom apartment in Hackney for the same price. Actually, the property in Hackney was slightly more. I know where I would choose to live if I could work from anywhere. And a clue? It's not Hackney. Lifestyle. Lifestyle in Spain has changed markedly due to the pandemic. But the Spanish are expecting to be able to meet up with friends again, go away constantly, sit on terraces while supping on cheap beer and wine very soon. The speed of vaccination is increasing rapidly, and the Spanish regional governments seem to be concentrating on vaccinating the vulnerable first: older people, health workers, teachers, frontline workers, etc. Once the Spanish lifestyle returns, assuming it does, then we expect another push in the numbers of people wanting to live in Spain, because, as mentioned earlier, you only live once, and Spain is generally considered to be one of the better places to live, and Valencia is considered to be number one in the world. The usual question applies, therefore: when will you be joining us here? Let us know and contact us with your requirements and expected arrival dates on information@valencia-property.com. We're expecting a busy summer.